On this evening of November 10th, going into the 11th, depending on which side of the Atlantic you are watching this on, I ponder what's happening in the aftermath of the United States midterm elections and the forming of the coalition under Prime Minister-to-be Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. So this is like a chess game, and we need to put some light onto the situation here at VFI News. Israelis are still waiting to look at what the new government of Israel will look like, even as many eyes have turned to the United States midterm elections to see the results, and we are still waiting for many votes to come in. But first, let's take a look at what we know so far about the emerging political situation in Israel, where President Isaac Herzog, or we say in Hebrew, Yitzhak, held consultations this week with the leaders of the factions who won mandates in the incoming Knesset. Although mandated by law, the consultations are mainly procedural, as it is inevitable on Sunday morning, Herzog will formally announce that Likud leader Benjamin Netanyahu is being granted the opportunity to form a governing coalition. That's the way it goes in Israel. Netanyahu will then have 28 days to negotiate with potential coalition partners. Although, as everyone knows, the negotiations already started and Netanyahu is reported to be eager to swear in a new government as soon as possible. I certainly hope so. However, that might not be so easy and go so smoothly. Although the initial election results appeared to show that Netanyahu had a straight path to forming a strong, stable coalition with the Shas Party, the United Torah Judaism Party, and Religious Zionist Party factions, several events, no surprise here, over recent days have called this into question. The Religious Zionist Party leader, Bezalel Smotrich, his speech last week at a Knesset ceremony to mark the anniversary of the assassination of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin in 1995 was met with strong denunciations, as it included an accusation against the Shin Bet security apparatus, which was partially responsible for Rabin's murder. Pushback for the speech even came from senior Likud leaders, that is, the Likud party that Benjamin Netanyahu leads, leading to speculation that a coalition that included Smotrich might not be as stable as initially thought. These comments also come amidst a series of demands that Smotrich has publicly made to Netanyahu as his party's price for joining a governing coalition. I knew this would happen. They include changes to the law that would end sporting events on Saturday, measures that would move Israel towards effectively annexing Judea and Samaria, as well as amendments to the law of return. Now, this last point is of special great concern, especially for Israel's believing community, as it is already difficult for Jewish believers to emigrate to Israel, and the proposed amendments would make it even more difficult. I don't know what that would mean for the visiting Christian population. However, we will wait and see. Also making headlines in Israel is speculation that Smotrich will demand to be appointed to the post of Minister of Defense as part of the incoming coalition. Presently, Defense Minister Benny Gantz covers that area of responsibility, and I think he does a pretty good job. Smotrich, only aged 42, he served a mere 14 months of active duty in the IDF after being called up at the age of 28 and never participated in combat operations. Nevertheless, he has indicated that he thinks he is qualified and ready to be defense minister. The Knesset, Israel's parliament, has had its own expressions of concern from within Israel's political establishment, as well as many of the governments who find themselves as Israel's best friends and allies around the world. Now, Ben-Gvir's past association with the Lahava organization, which has sent many members to disrupt meetings of Israeli believers and otherwise harass them, has also been a cause of concern for some of Israel's Christian supporters. All of this, of course, is noted by Israel's friends and I'm sure our enemies like to use it as well. Analysts have noted an uptick in aggressive rhetoric against Israel by Iranian officials in the past week, as well as the fact that United States President Joe Biden waited 5 days following the election to call Netanyahu to congratulate him on his electoral victory. No surprise there. Now, the U.S. Ambassador Tom Nides told Israeli news portal Conbet this week that, quote, "We will push back against any attempt at annexation. We don't support annexation. It's not just us, it's most countries." Well, guess what? Judea and Samaria are the biblical heartland of Israel! Exclamation point. Nide's further comments suggested that the United States is taking a wait-and-see approach and the makeup of Israel's incoming Knesset, but also reaffirming the traditionally strong ties between Washington and Jerusalem. My prayer, Lord, is may those strong ties stay. Now, there are also anecdotal reports, mostly on non-traditional news portals, that several Likud MKs and even some MKs from Shas and United Torah of Judaism have also quietly let Netanyahu know that they are very uncomfortable with what's going on. All of this has some pundits speculating that Netanyahu will try to convince the National Unity Party, led by Defense Minister Benny Gantz, to join his coalition instead of the religious Zionist Party. Gantz and other leaders of the National Unity Party have firmly stated they will not join a Netanyahu-led government. However, several members of Israel's national security establishment appear to be quietly urging him to do so, that if it's the only way to prevent Smotrich from being appointed to the existentially important post of Israeli defense minister. As for Netanyahu himself, whom we call also Bibi, he spoke at last Sunday's Knesset memorial to Rabin and attempted to sound a more reconciliatory note following the recent elections. Quote, "The elections are over, and as the dust of discord between both political camps settles, we must come out of the trenches and work together," he said, adding that differences won't disappear, and that's fine. "We have profound disagreements on several issues which need to be addressed with responsibility and consideration. It's okay to argue. We don't need to agree on everything, but at the same time, we do need to know what to agree on." That sounds like it would be a good formula for the United States at this time. Well, speaking of the agreement, support for Israel is one of the more stable elements of an otherwise deeply divided political scene in Washington, D.C. Following the midterm elections in the United States this week, Israeli officials expressed hope that that would not change despite some races around the United States, which also failed to live up to all the hype this week. Although the GOP did make some gains, and as of Thursday afternoon, most news organizations tracking the election results are predicting a small Republican majority in the House of Representatives. Control of the Senate is still unclear, pending results from 3 states. We need to keep these elections on both sides and in both countries in prayer. And for the rest of you around the world, we invite you also to pray, not only for your leaders in your countries, but also for what's happening in Israel and the United States. Remember, Israel has been America's greatest ally in the Middle East, and vice versa, America has been Israel's greatest ally. So let's hopefully keep it that way in our prayers and with all of you from whatever country you come from. But one result of the United States election that is fairly clear is that candidates with a positive view of Israel did well, and support for the Jewish state in Congress and many governors' mansions and state legislatures across the United States is likely to remain high. Fox News published a report on Tuesday showing that Jewish American support for Republican candidates in this election cycle was the highest it's been in decades, reaching approximately 33%. In New York, where Lee Zeldin was running also for governor but lost, 80 to 90% amongst the Orthodox Jews voted for Zeldin in New York. Sam Markstein, Republican Jewish Coalition National Director, told the Jerusalem Post on Wednesday that the GOP candidates are offering concrete solutions to the issues that matter to Jewish voters. He added that in the historically crucial battleground state of Florida, Jewish support for Republican candidates was 45%. That is definitely up from previous elections. Finally, United States President Joe Biden spoke to reporters on Wednesday declaring the results of the midterm elections, quote, good for democracy, and announcing his intention to run for re-election in 2024. He added, however, that he had yet to make a final decision but would do so in consultation with his family and others before making his final decision early next year. Happy New Year. Okay, this leaves the big question hanging over America's political future, including its relationship with Israel. Whether or not former President Donald Trump will announce next week that he is seeking the Republican nomination for president in the 2024 election. If he does, he is sure to face a strong challenge from Ron DeSantis, who did overwhelmingly incredibly well throughout the whole state of Florida, I must add, and we like that guy. The popular governor of Florida won a convincing election victory on Tuesday and is widely credited with building a broad coalition of support in the Sunshine State, which included a larger vote support from Hispanic and other minority groups who traditionally support Democrats. Hanging over all of these electoral results in Israel and the United States is the ongoing war between Russia and the Ukraine. These two countries both have large numbers of Jewish citizens, many of whom are looking at the options of emigrating. Roughly equal numbers are trying to move to Israel and the U.S., with others looking at other options to moving to other countries. What effect these waves of immigration will have, I don't know, but I do believe it's according to biblical scripture. But that's for the future, and today we have plenty to think about with what's going on right in front of us. Will the religious Zionist party in Israel snatch defeat from the jaws of victory by making impossible demands of Benjamin Netanyahu in return for joining his governing coalition, giving him no other choice, no other option than to turn to the National Unity Party led by Gantz as an alternative? If not, what will the result be of the religious Zionist party becoming the dominant partner of Likud in the incoming Knesset? Will the coalition be as stable as it initially appeared to be? Will the traditionally rock-solid alliance between Israel and the United States be affected by the midterm elections that just took place in the United States and the next round, which is about to get started? Will Donald Trump attempt to run for president again? If so, will he get the same level of support from the American Jewish community as candidates in this latest election received? What might result from the shifting demographics in the United States, Israel, and for that matter, other countries that have recently or will soon have elections of their own? Well, the VFI news team, Vision for Israel, will continue to monitor developments in Israel, the wider Middle East, the United States, and around the world to bring you information you need to pray for and otherwise support Israel and the Jewish people. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Spread the news amongst your friends, please. And if you appreciate this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also help us by sharing this video, as I said, on various social media platforms. God bless you, and until next time, well, yours truly, Barry Siegel from the VFI News.